Alright, everyone, good morning, good morning. So, first round of the draft is in the books, and we're going to go over each pick and give you a little opinion on exactly what's about to happen with each pick. So, number one pick in the draft, Kyler Murray out of Oklahoma goes to Arizona. Wake up this morning, find out Josh Rosen has unfollowed any and everything Arizona. So there's only two ways that this pick is going to work out for Arizona. It's very simple. You pick Kyler Murray because you want him to be the starter. Cliff Kingsbury has the offense. They designed it around him. And number two, Josh Rosen's gone. Josh Rosen either getting shipped out of town, traded to someone, whatever the case may be. Or they unfortunately can't trade Josh Rosen, can't get anything valuable for him, and he sits there a very disgruntled backup quarterback because Kyler Murray is going to take his job. It sucks, but it is the way it is. He was the number one overall pick. Everybody thought he was going to be such. Every mock draft, every analyst, everybody figured, hey, Kyler Murray's the dude, so he was the number one pick. And it's obvious that, they're either trying to get rid of Rosen, they're trying to put him in the backup spot, or the only thing he can do is try to work his butt off to try to make sure that he secures a job. That's it. There's nothing else. At number two, San Francisco 49ers select Nick Bosa out of Ohio State, defensive end. Now, when healthy, Nick Bosa is a beast. But that's the issue. Can he stay healthy? The last 2 years he's been injured. His production has been stalled because of that. There's been several other talents in the draft that have produced better than him because they can stay on the field. The other thing is Bosa addressed his tweets and some of the things that he did as a younger kid, but when he addressed him, I've taken a psychology class. When he addressed these things, he just didn't care. To me, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan were always about locker room and how they have a great camaraderie amongst people in there. But this dude just didn't give a shit about his tweets. He was worried about his money. He said what he had to say, he did what he had to do, and that was it. You can read his body language, you can listen to his tone and his inflection. When people asked him about the things that happened in his past, he just was like, I'm ready to move on with him. I don't care. Very chill, very nonchalant, laid back. And when you see him when he got picked, he had the smile of a champion. Like, hey, I got picked. I don't care what says. So for me, period, point blank, I'm not going to put any personal opinion on it. I'm just letting you know what I saw and how I read it. It's very simple. This pick will work out if he's on the field and if he can produce. That's pretty much it. If he can't be on the field and he can't produce, it'll be another wasted pick on another injured player like good old John Lynch. Good job, John. So, next up, we've got Quinnen Williams, defensive tackle out of Alabama, goes to the Jets. That's a winner, automatic winner. They needed somebody on their defensive line that's going to create some havoc and who's going to go ahead and make sure that he does everything that he can to, make the quarterback's life a living hell. They got their guy. Next up, this was kind of a confusing pick for the Oakland Raiders. They drafted Clelin Ferrell out of Clemson. It was a big surprise because people didn't necessarily expect this guy to go in the top 10. Obviously, this is a guy that they covered. He's a defensive end. The Raiders have had some issues on their defense. Nick Mullins didn't shred those guys because they were running around with Pro Bowlers on their squad. No shade to him because Mullins did a wonderful job for us last year. And I like him. I hope we trade C.J. Beathard and keep him as our backup, if anything. But Raiders added themselves a nice defensive piece. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers go with the linebacker out of LSU, Devin White. Now this guy is a stud. He came on, he looked great. He talked, to the people at ESPN. And to me, he said he modeled, if I'm not mistaken, he believes he modeled himself after Patrick Willis, which is one of our greats, one of our best linebackers, probably our best linebacker ever. So it makes sense for them to go ahead and draft him, because we now have Quan Alexander. If he's healthy, he should be great. But, having Devin White, a young, healthy linebacker to replace him, can't say he did too bad on that one. So the New York Giants did shock everyone last night. including all the analysts, when they took this kid out of Duke, Daniel Jones. Everybody anticipated they were going to select Dwayne Haskins, but Daniel Jones is their pick. That's the guy they're running with. I figure they think they got a couple more years out of Eli, and they can go ahead and throw Daniel Jones into the fray with the guys that they have. Next up, we have the guy that I would have liked to have on our squad, and that is Josh Allen. He went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I got a lot of backlash from people because I was saying Allen was the better pick. He was the better prospect. His production in college only increased every year. He only got better, and at the same time, he's in the same system that we run. Jacksonville Jaguars run a 4-3 just like we do, and they just picked up a guy on the edge. This dude is actually a hybrid DN / outside linebacker. So he can be put on the edge, rush the passer. He can cover well. Then, if you need, you can make him stick his hand in the dirt on certain downs and get after the quarterback. You can use him in both ways. Believe me, this guy's going to be a star in the league. I guarantee it. Next up, we got the Detroit Lions. They wanted to get Matthew Stafford some help. So what did they do? They went to Iowa, where we went to go get George Kittle, and they got T.J. Hockenson. So Matt Stafford's got himself another weapon at tight end. Him and Noah Fant were both the top 2 tight ends in the league. So, hey, Matt Stafford's got a nice tight end to throw to, because it doesn't look like it worked out too much with Eric Ebron, but we'll see what happens. And the Buffalo Bills selected Ed Oliver out of Houston. He's a defensive tackle. So they're just building up their defense more. I think they feel like they're good on their quarterback. They'll probably draft themselves a few receivers, maybe even a few offensive linemen, but Ed Oliver out of Houston is their guy. So next up, we've got Devin Bush out of Michigan going to what I like to call linebacker U in the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a great pick for them. They've been needing somebody to go ahead and help them out since Shazier went down. Much blessings to that man, because he is doing very well in his recovery, doing box jumps, all kinds of stuff. Ryan Shazier is the story, but Devin Bush is their pick, and I think he's going to help to improve that linebacking core. So next up, Cincinnati goes ahead and they select offensive tackle out of Alabama, Jonah Williams. This guy was long coveted by a lot of the scouts and a lot of the analysts. They say he's one of the best linemen in the draft. So, hey, you get somebody to protect the Red Riders' blind side, maybe he can throw some passes. Next up, we got the Green Bay Packers. They selected defensive end Rashawn Gary out of Michigan. This guy was what a lot of people like to call, a big boy and a bad guy. As far as his play on the field, he did very well. So we'll see what happens with him. Let's see. The Miami Dolphins went ahead and they selected Christian Wilkins out of Clemson. So Clemson's got some stars. They got some stars going in the first round. Everybody likes Clemson. So to me, it seems like the Dolphins are trying to build their D-line, and continue to grow on the defensive side of the ball. Everybody thought they might take a quarterback. Obviously, that's not the case, and I think they may have coveted Kyler Murray, but it was just too much, for them to lose to go up and get him. Next thing up, we have Chris Lidstrom from Boston College, and he went to the Atlanta Falcons. And the last time Atlanta Falcons drafted the Boston College offensive lineman, he turned into a Pro Bowl. So let's hope it works out for them again with this. Next up, Dwayne Haskins, who has just said that the league messed up when they went ahead and let him slide. He is now a Washington Redskin. The Redskins fans most likely are hoping this is the second coming of Doug Williams, and they can get themselves another ring out of this guy, because they necessarily failed when they had drafted RG3. That's why they drafted what's the kid's name behind him out of Michigan State. Y'all know who I'm talking about. He's playing for the Vikings, Kirk Cousins. Carolina Panthers went ahead and selected an edge rusher, and his name is Brian Burns. He is out of Florida State. Go Seminoles. So they look like they want to go ahead and put some more pressure on the quarterback and get after him. Next thing up, the Giants have their next selection. They selected another defensive tackle out of where? Clemson. You have Dexter Lawrence, so they are really trying to build themselves a nice little defense. They got their quarterback of the future, hopefully, for them, so that'll work out. We have Garrett Bradbury, a center out of North Carolina, NC State. going to the Minnesota Vikings. So they're trying to build their offensive line. That's wonderful for them. Hopefully they can keep everybody upright with that. Next up, we got Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle out of Mississippi State, going to the Tennessee Titans. They want to build their defense, so they got themselves another piece, and they feel like he was a good pick. Next up, we have Noah Fant going to the Denver Broncos, so the second tight end out of Iowa. And there it is. You got Joe Flacco, a nice tight end to throw to, and Flacco's pretty good with keeping up with his tight ends. Green Bay Packers had another pick in the first round, and they selected Darnell Savage out of Maryland. He's a safety. So once again, they're trying to make sure their back end is going to be great because they already have some DBs that they need to groom and bring along. Philadelphia Eagles select Andre Dillard, a tackle from Washington State. They want to keep protecting Carson Wentz and keep him upright. Let's hope he stays healthy throughout the year so we can see what he can do. Next up, you have Titus Howard, Alabama State. He is a tackle, and he went to the Houston Texans. Looks like they're trying to go ahead and protect Deshaun Watson and keep him upright. Make sure he can throw the ball to DeAndre Hopkins and get everything going the right way. So we got Josh Jacobs, a running back out of Alabama, has went to the Oakland Raiders. This was an obvious pick. Everybody said that's where he was going because Marshawn Lynch has decided to retire and they're moving on from him. So let's hope that this guy comes in, fills the shoes, and keeps on pushing. Baltimore Ravens select Marquise Brown out of Oklahoma, wide receiver. So they get themselves another weapon for, their quarterback and for their offense, and they should do very well when it comes to getting him the ball and utilizing this kid in every which way. Washington Redskins have another selection. They selected Montez Sweat out of Mississippi State. Now, the 49ers did covet this guy coming out of the Senior Bowl because we coached the Senior Bowl. They said everybody loved him, everybody fell in love with him. Say he was a great prospect and all of that. He wasn't worth the number 2 pick, but hey, he is over there in Redskin country, and believe you me, he's going to put some pressure on the people in the NFC East. I can guarantee you that. Next up, the Oakland Raiders have their next selection. They selected Jonathan Abram, a safety out of Mississippi State, and they are building their defense once again. Another defensive piece for them to add. Let's hope that these 3 first-round picks work out for them. Los Angeles Chargers go ahead and select defensive tackle out of Notre Dame, Jerry Tillery. So Tillery looks to be another piece for the Chargers to add to their defense. They already have both. They have Joey Bosa. They have Melvin Ingram. Now this kid Tillery, they want him to come in and do some good things and help them produce in the right way. The Seattle Seahawks went ahead and selected L.J. Collier, a defensive end out of Texas, basically out of TCU. So I'm not really sure about this guy. Don't know much about him, but it looks like they're trying to go ahead and continue to build their defense. They did just go ahead and trade away Frank Clark, so maybe they're hoping that this guy can be his eventual replacement and get them some sacks on the quarterback. And then the Giants have another selection here. They selected a cornerback out of Georgia, DeAndre Baker. Don't know much about the kid, but it looks like they're trying to make sure that they keep everything going. With losing, a couple of people in the offseason, they want to go ahead and keep that defense solid. Then for the Atlanta Falcons, they have another selection. So what are they doing? Keeping their offensive line right. They selected Caleb McGarry out of Washington. So basically they're making sure that line is as solid as possible. And can't blame them for it because if you keep Matt Ryan upright, he can get that ball to Julio Jones to do what he needs to do. So where I currently live is in Arizona, but I'm from Los Angeles, California. And N'Keal Harry out of Arizona State has went to the New England Patriots. Now, this guy has been long coveted by a lot of people in the draft. They say he's one of the best wide receivers in the draft. So if you see this kid getting catches from, Tom Brady, that's going to be a wonderful thing for him, man, because Brady finds a way to get the ball to anyone, and at the same time, if Harry can be as good as he is, then it will help him, along the way. Y'all stay blessed. Y'all have yourselves a wonderful day. It's day 2 of the draft. I'll be back at the end of day 2 with the picks for this, for day 2, and go Niners. We gotta hope that, everything will work out and people will be happy and they'll do what they need to do. Stay blessed. Stay happy. Peace.